This is the ninth part video, titled, He Finds a Notebook of Experience and Can Experience Anything He Writes. Please do watch all the previous parts to enjoy this video. Jong-suk was caught in a serious train accident. The train has collapsed and crashed, losing its tracks. He fell unconscious. Waking up, he tried to get up. His shoulder was in intense pain. He realized it was broken. He just bared the pain. As he stood up, he could hear the screams, but he couldn't see anything. It was fairly dark. Jong-suk took his phone out and activated its flashlight. He couldn't believe his own eyes. Everyone in his cabin was unconscious and half dead. He thought, this was hell. How could this situation happen? Suddenly, he heard another scream for help. He shouted for the person, but his own body was engulfed in pain. He could feel it. His ribs were broken too. He saw a hand calling for help. The person was under the loads of people. Jong-suk asked him to move towards the door. The man managed to get loose and move, but he was still not capable of moving through the bodies. Jong-suk opens the door. A woman had also survived. One by one, they got outside of the train. Many people had managed to get out of the train. The train was stuck inside the underground tunnel. He asked the nearby man if they had called 119 for help. The man called the helpline and asked for immediate help. He said, the help is already on the move. They were already working on it. Suddenly, they heard more people calling for help from the train. Jong-suk asked them to join him in helping other survivors. A man said his arm is broken. He couldn't help even if he wanted to. Two people came to Jong-suk to volunteer. Jong-suk told them to get all the people outside the train and bring them near their gathering spot. Jong-suk gets inside the train. He could hear a woman calling for help. She was under a load of people. Jong-suk moved all of them. He could sense most of the passengers were dead and already cold. He couldn't believe how such a disaster had happened. He got her out. Fortunately, her injuries were not severe. The woman asked if he could pick her and take her out. Jong-suk kindly refused and said she is healthy enough to walk on her own. She can call his name if she needs any help. The woman walks out of the train. Many people were gathering outside. The train had completely crashed on the other side. Jong-suk got a small boy who survived. He got him out. The other helper asked if there are any more survivors. Jong-suk just shook his head in negative. Jong-suk asked if any rescue team has arrived. The man said they just have to wait patiently. Jong-suk looked at the survivors. He couldn't think anything. He wondered if the only thing he was supposed to do was wait. At the same time, he heard people looking for doctor. Jong-suk ran towards them. Their child was coughing blood. Jong-suk took a look at him. He asked to move away from him and used his hand to check on him. The boy was alive. His heartbeat was back, but his broken ribs were stabbing his internal organs. Jong-suk couldn't help him in this situation. He told the man not to let him move until the rescue team arrives. He gets on moving. The mother of the child was reluctant. She asked if his boy was okay. He told them the truth. They need to wait until the paramedics arrive. Suddenly, one man came running to him. His pregnant wife was unconscious. Jong-suk frowned as he thought about it. He couldn't imagine a pregnant woman at a time like this. Most of the survivors were not out of the train yet. The two helpers came to him and told him to help outside. They will look for survivors. They had to do it. Jong-suk told them to be careful. He shouted at the survivors if anyone has medicine. He asked if anyone has aspirin, cold medicines, or painkillers. Some people responded. Jong-suk added, they can shout his name if they need immediate medical assistance. He will be right there. His voice resounded in the whole subway. Looking back, he asked the person to take him to his pregnant wife. She was unconscious. He took her hand and looked for the pulses. For a pregnant woman, there should be two pulses, one for the mother and one for the child. But Jong-suk could only feel the mother's pulse. He couldn't feel the child's pulse. He got up and told the man to wait for the rescue team. He told him to stay by her side until she wakes up. Jong-suk also broke the truth. He said he couldn't sense the child's pulse. The man didn't understand. Jong-suk said calmly that he hoped the rescue team arrives in 30 minutes, but if not, he should call him again. The man asked for the reason. Jong-suk replied they need to get the baby out. The man was stunned. He said she needs another month for the delivery. How can they get the baby out? Jong-suk couldn't tell him the truth. He just tells him to call him after 30 minutes. The man was furious. He grabbed on Jong-suk and demanded to look at his wife. Jong-suk said he need to check for other patients. The helper grabbed onto the man to let go of Jong-suk. The man cried for help. He asked Jong-suk what will happen to his baby, but Jong-suk couldn't muster his strength to answer. He was angry at this unholy situation. On TV, the news about the subway crash had become a breaking headline. The news said the cause of the accident was undetermined. The authorities are making their all-out effort to rescue them. The underground roads are collapsed, hence making the rescue operation more difficult. Sumi was listening to the news in her car. The radio was giving live reports about the situation. One of the reporters was caught up in this accident. He was uninjured and was able to contact the media. They were having a live broadcast from the location. The person said, "There are currently a lot of painful screams and groans that can be heard from the train. The accident happened during the rush hour. Hence, there are countless people trapped and injured. They are in dire need of rescue. People who can move are getting into train to save more people." He added, people are also getting medical support. At the same time, they could hear shouts of the name Lee Jong-suk. Sumi could hear it too. The anchor asked why people are calling for Lee Jong-suk. The reporter replied, that is the name of the doctor who is currently saving and treating patients along with some subway survivors. He told everyone to call his name when they have an emergency patient. Listening to it, Sumi was shocked. She couldn't believe what she heard. The anchor asked if they can interview him. Sumi's manager scolded at the anchor. Looking for an interview of the doctor in this tense situation should seriously be a crime. Immediately, Sumi told her to turn the car. The manager said they are almost at their destination. Sumi yelled angrily, turn the car. Covering her face with one hand, she couldn't control her tears. Jong-suk was helping people by writing their treatment on their hands. He also advised them about which hospital they should go. He gave everyone a separate hospital. One helper asked for the reason. Jong-suk replied, if they all went at the same hospital, their treatment will be delayed. It will cause an even greater problem. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was a call from Sumi. Sumi was eager to hear his voice. Jong-suk speaks. She immediately asked if he is okay or if he is hurt. Jong-suk replied, he is okay. She said she heard his name in the news. Jong-suk was surprised. Sumi was angry. She asked why would he take subway instead of a car. She was really worried for him. Jong-suk was in pain. But, he said, he is okay. She doesn't need to worry. He asked where she is. Sumi said she was headed to Gubong Station. But, Jong-suk told her to turn back and go to his house. He told her to stop his parents from watching the news. They might get worried for him. He asked her to do it for him. Sumi agreed. She told him to promise her that he will be okay. Jong-suk promised. Sumi put down her phone and asked her manager to take her to Jong-suk's house. Her manager warned her about the dating scandal she got on her back. But Sumi suggested to drop her near Jong-suk's house. She will go alone. The manager couldn't deny her. Jong-suk had lied to Sumi. One of the helper came to Jong-suk. He asked to follow him. Jong-suk was shocked to see it. The boy from earlier was still unconscious and his stomach was bulging. His mother was worried for him. Jong-suk checks on him again. His broken ribs were damaging the internal arteries, making the stomach bleed. He was experiencing hemorrhage in abdominal cavity. Jong asked about the rescue team. The helper replied, there has been news about the team from outside, but they are having trouble clearing the rubble on the roads. Jong-suk knew it will be too late. The mother of the child was broken. She was losing her will. Jong-suk encouraged her. It was not the time to be weak. One of the helper brought Jong-suk's bag. It had all his needles. Jong-suk had to use his oriental skills on the boy's stomach. He has to block the blood flow or make it loose somehow. There was no CT scan or anything else at his disposal. Neither the surgery was possible in this bizarre situation. He kept his hand on the boy's stomach and started thinking what he can do. He still had an option to borrow the mad doctor's help. However, it will consume too much of his energy. Right now, his body was in its worst state. It couldn't handle it. Jong-suk believes he is also a doctor. He can do it. The abdominal cavity was filling up with blood. If he somehow drained the blood out, the boy's blood pressure will drop drastically and the body will go in shock. But it had to be done. Jong-suk looks for the bleeding artery. He focuses on his hands. He had to find it quickly. He found it. He takes out the long needle. He pierced the needle at the right spot and lets loose the head. A sudden burst of blood shoots out from the needle. Everyone was shocked. Near Jong-suk's house, a reporter was looking for a catch. He was waiting to go inside the house. At the same time, he saw a girl walking inside the house. It was Sumi. Jong-suk was still not finished. He had to look for another damaged artery and stop the bleeding. The mother was hesitant. Still, Jong-suk had no choice but to do it. Sumi enters the house. Jong-suk's father welcomes her. His mother was also present. They were happy to see her. Sumi greets them. Jong-suk's mother says Jong-suk always watches her interviews on TV. Sumi was embarrassed to know this. Jong-suk's father even made a romantic joke about it. Suddenly, two men enter their house. One of them introduced himself as the reporter of Jiragi Post. He said he was here to interview Sumi. He added they knew Sumi and Lee Jong-suk had broke up, but the current situation doesn't meet that fact. Sumi was surprised to see them. She wanted to get them out before they say anything further. She says she will do the interview later and asks them to leave. The reporter suddenly speaks about the Jong-suk's accident. He asked them to speak their thoughts. Jong-suk's father asked, "What accident are they talking about?" On the other side, Jong-suk was still busy saving the little boy. He had tried everything in his hands. Still, the bleeding was not stopping. He looked at the mother. He knew he couldn't give up. He clenched his fist. He had to use his last option. But he knew what were the consequences. He had promised Sumi that he will be safe. Suddenly, the boy went into shock. His body was trembling. Jong-suk told the helper to hold the boy tightly. Jong-suk took his bag, pulled out the page and wrote Oriental medicine. The page glowed, covering his whole body. A devilish smile appeared on his face. The mad doctor had took over Jong-suk's body. He noticed his vessel was in worse state. He told Jong-suk that his broken ribs were puncturing his lungs, and his own diaphragm could be filled with blood anytime. He took off his shirt and broke the pen in his hand. Jong-suk was looking for his lungs with the empty broken pen. The helper asked what he was doing. Jong-suk grabbed the pen and thrusted it inside his rib cage. Blood started to spray out from the pen. The mad doctor exhaled. He said it was now easier to breathe for him. He replied to the helper that he needs to have stable breathing to use his internal energy. He told him to move aside. Quickly he used his fingers and rapidly poked at the little boy's body. The boy was stable. The mother asked, "What did he do?" The mad doctor replied, "He just sealed the blood vessels from moving wildly." He took out the long needle and said, "Don't let the little boy move. His stomach is going to get messy." The mad doctor stopped. Jong-suk was trying to talk to him. He asked what was he going to do. The mad doctor replied, he will use cautery. Cautery is a medical practice or a technique of burning the part of the body to remove it or close it. Jong-suk was confused. He didn't know how he can perform cautery without any equipment. He asked what was he going to do with the bleeding blood vessels. The mad doctor replied, he will concentrate the fire on the tip of the needle and burn the broken blood vessels inside. Jong-suk couldn't believe it. He pierced the needle inside and had reached the broken blood vessel. The mad doctor focused his fire energy on the tip of the needle. Jong-suk's whole body was boiling. It became extremely hot. His body couldn't hold it. Blood shot from his mouth. The mother was scared. Jong-suk told her to back off. He gritted his teeth and said, if he fails to do this, his son will die. The helper couldn't believe his eyes. He didn't know if this was martial arts. The mad doctor spat mouthful of blood from Jong-suk's mouth. His body was at a breaking point. Still, he held on. The broken blood vessel was being healed, or rather being closed, by burning. He pulls out the needle. The bleeding was stopped. But, Jong-suk said, due to the blood loss, the blood pressure and the temperature of the kid's body had dropped. The mad doctor kept his hand on the boy's body and gave his internal energy. The body of the boy was rejuvenating. His complexion was looking a lot better. The mother asked if Jong-suk was okay. Jong-suk said he just temporarily accelerated his blood flow. He added, they need to take the boy to the hospital for proper operation. Suddenly, his body gave up. At Jong-suk's house, they were watching the TV. The news of the rescue team rescuing the victims of subway accident was live. They were being taken to hospitals. Jong-suk's parents were worried. The reporter was still asking about the dating scandal to Sumi. She refused to answer, but the reporter blackmailed her saying it was the right of Sumi's fans to know the truth. Sumi's manager came in. She scolded at the reporter. The reporter asked that they announced that Jin-sumi and Jong-suk had broken up. Then, what is she doing at his house? The manager replied, she came because she was worried about her friend who had an accident. The reporter didn't accept it. Sumi was furious. She yelled at the reporter if this was the right moment for their questioning. Jong-suk's parents were worried. At the moment, Jong-suk's father saw Jong-suk on TV. He was unconscious and being taken to the hospital. Jong-suk's mother couldn't stop her tears. Sumi's eyes were watering. At the same time, Dr. Wong saw Jong-suk on TV. He calls his hospital and told to connect him with the ambulance which was taking Jong-suk to the hospital. The ambulance was taken to Gubon Hospital. Dr. Wong called his friend from Gubon Hospital to look after Jong-suk personally, but he was already doing it. He said Jong-suk was not in serious condition, but his vitals were complete mess. His broken ribs had damaged his lungs and caused serious bleeding. He will be operating on him personally. He hung up the phone and went straight into operating room. Jong-suk's parents and Sumi were outside. They were worried for Jong-suk. Sumi's manager took Sumi outside for a conversation. She said, the office is going crazy. They came all the way to the hospital after shooting. The reporter was still with them. He asked Sumi if she and Jong-suk still have a relationship. She couldn't talk. The manager tried to tell them to visit another time. But the reporter was stuck on getting an answer. He just wanted yes or no. Suddenly, Sumi said she will tell the truth. The manager was shocked. Sumi announced she loves Jong-suk. Ever since they first met, and until today, she loved him. She is Jong-suk's girlfriend. After a few days, in the Gubong hospital, someone was watching TV. The news about the Gubong subway accident was being aired. The memorial service was held to commemorate the victims of the tragic incident. The Korean Prime Minister had also visited the memorial. The political parties were in debate of blaming the responsibility for the construction of the subway and the buildings which had collapsed to create this tragic accident. Sumi was awake by the sudden change sound. The person near her was awake. It was Jong-suk. He greets her saying, "Good morning." Sumi was still crying. Jong-suk pats on her head and said he is sorry for making them worry. Dr. Wang enters the room. He asked if he feels okay. Jong-suk replied he feels better. The doctor handed him a letter and said it was a letter from the mother of that little boy he saved. The letter said they don't know if it was unfortunate or coincidence that Mr. Lee was at the scene of the accident. But it is thanks to Mr. Lee for all those lives saved. It would have been a lifetime of our good luck for Mr. Lee to be there. The letter had a picture of their happy faces. Sumi was proud of her boyfriend. On the internet, the news about Sumi staying beside Jong-suk for a whole night was a viral news. At the JC Entertainment office, Sumi's company owner shows the viral news to Sumi. Sumi says there was nothing wrong with the news. The CEO was taken aback. He asked if they are really dating. He also asked if the story of their high school love is really the truth. Sumi accepted everything. The CEO was disappointed in Sumi and said he didn't expect her to be such kind of woman. Sumi apologized for the matter, but clearly she didn't regret it. The CEO says she has caused a lot of trouble for them. Sumi accepts it and says she will take the responsibility for damage she brought on the company. The CEO asked what she will do after this. Sumi smiled and replied she will take her boyfriend to meet her parents. Jong-suk is going to meet his girlfriend's parents. Will they accept him? What will happen to their relationship? Let's continue the story in the next part of the series. The link will be updated soon in the description. Join the fun. If you are someone who loves reading manhwa and animes, subscribe now and join us in our journey. Also, get notified for new manhwa updates and hidden gems. Thank you for watching this video and see you again.